back to another episode of the Startup Junkies podcast. Thank you for tuning in from wherever and however you're tuning in today. My name is Caleb Talley. I'm a Startup Junkie and joined by my Startup Junkie co-hosts, Jeff Amerine and Victoria Dickerson. How's it going?
You got the intro right that time.
Yeah.
You knocked that rust right off.
Yeah, that's all I had, just a little lime and rust on there. And we are excited to be joined today by our friend and fellow entrepreneur, Yoon Kim. He's the founder of Outdoor Media Summit, Outdoor ECOM. How's it going, Yoon?
Pretty good.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us. Let's kick it off. Tell us, give us the Yoon origin story.
The Yoon origin story, man. This starts in 1983, and I don't know anything about it, and I don't want to. But no, actually, yeah, I'll go back. So our family moved to Wyoming in 1984, where I was born. I guess 1983, a year before I was born. And my dad got he got a scholarship to study engineering at the University of Wyoming. And
in Laramie.
In Laramie. Yeah, that's right. Good memory. Oh, man, you were sharp as a tack.
I lived out there.
Yeah, man.
Fun fact about Laramie, not to interrupt you, highest per capita consumption of alcohol anywhere on the planet.
I remember you telling me this.
It's higher than Moscow. Think about that.
You don't forget anything.
Keep going.
Yeah, so yeah, I was born in Laramie, and we lived there for, I guess, a couple years, and then he got a scholarship to go to Princeton. And so we lived in Princeton for a few years, and then we moved it to Arkansas in 1991. So we were in Siloam Springs. My dad taught at JBU since 91. So we saw like a lot of the growth and a lot of the stuff that happened, in Northwest Arkansas. It's been pretty cool, but that's the Yoon origin story, I guess. That's
Well, then march us through, just kind of how you got into, having had conversations with you about this past. I know you're kind of like entrepreneurially minded, kind of hustler. Tell me how you got into how you got the bug for entrepreneurship, and just walk us through that journey.
Yeah. So I would say I've heard once that I probably heard this from Jeff, that there's different styles of entrepreneurship. Some people are visionaries and they want to change the world, have big grand ideas. Some people are, I don't remember, I think there's an infographic about this, but one of the styles of entrepreneurship is like a moray eel. And you just sit there with your mouth open. You know what a moray eel is? There's these eels.
You can picture it, yeah.
And they'll just sit there with their mouth open for weeks at a time, just sitting completely still. And then a fish will go into its mouth, and then it'll just chomp down on the fish, eat it, and then open its mouth again for several months. That's kind of like me. Is I'm not very good at I don't think I'm that good at business. My first 9 businesses failed. Number 10 worked out, number 11 worked out, number 12 worked out. And, those are very small businesses, but I think just being super patient and waiting for the right opportunity and then taking advantage of it. I don't know. That's kind of my way that I look at my style of entrepreneurship. But I will say that there is someone who has been very foundational in my, so John James, I worked for him back in Acumen, and there was a point when he said, "Hey, Yoon, I don't think this Acumen thing's going to work out. You have one of the skills that can scale. So why don't you go out in the world and be a 1099 and we'll pay you the same amount?" And I was like, "Oh, cool. So you're going to pay me the same amount. I don't have to come to the office anymore." And he's like, yeah. So I don't think we're going to be around for very much longer. So we went out and I found first couple clients. He was my first client. And
With Blogs for Brands.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Blogs for Brands. We didn't have a name back then. I was just, freelancing for him. And then he told me to go out and find more clients, and I did. And so anyway, that's how I officially got started with Blogs for Brands. There were 9 different businesses before that failed.
But you never gave up. You kept kind of iterating on trying different things.
Yeah. What I like to say is I met Joy, my wife, at the time, my girlfriend, and everything was, all these other businesses were pretty colossal failures. They just, I didn't know this whole concept of failing fast so you can move on to the next thing. I think I just failed fast because I was so bad at what I was doing. And then I met Joy, and I don't know what happened, but it's just like the Midas touch. Everything that I've done now has worked out and it's been profitable. And so I don't know. She's always told me she's always
You
like,
just scored some points with that whole part of the speech.
she just texted me.
You need to just that 30 seconds. You got to have on like continuous loop. Next time you're in trouble, you just run that. Send that to her phone and run that. It's like, wow, that's really good. No, it's so true too. Entrepreneurship is such a lonely undertaking. You need somebody, whether it's a spouse or a significant other, or someone to talk to, because it's tough. It's a tough game.
I learned that from you. The best business advice that I'd ever gotten in my entire life. One time someone asked me, what's the best business advice you ever gotten? And I was like, happy life, happy life. And I was like, where did I learn that from? And I was like, it came from you. It was many years ago.
I think I probably said that when Phyllis was standing about 3 feet.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway,
it's true.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah, that's
true.
right. Yeah,
it's a hard game. You have to have you have to have someone in your corner that understands that it's a real roller coaster. So that's really good. Kudos to Joy for understanding the lifestyle and helping you out. It's great.
So Jeff and Caleb know your backstory. I just met you today. So tell me a little bit about the projects that you're working on and where you're headed now.
Oh, yeah. I guess we have context.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. So I have a few projects in the works right now. One is Outdoor Media Summit, which is the gathering for media and marketers in the outdoor industry. So think of, the Patagonias and North Faces and Cotopaxis and, the Nemo Equipments and Kosas and those brands, marketing people from those brands will meet with the editors from, the Gear Junkies and Trails magazines and Alpinist magazines. And we just locked down Forbes and Insider this week. Nice. We'll have like a total of about 50 top media come out, 50 to 80. And then, same thing. And it's just a pretty small conference. Like the trade show model, I was telling you this the other day, Jeff, the trade show model is getting disrupted, not just in the outdoor industry, but in a lot of industries.
Post-pandemic, it's kind of, people are rethinking that travel span and all the costs, right?
Yeah, I mean, the pandemic was just kind of a catalyst. This has been building up for, about a decade. Yeah. And the pandemic was just a convenient excuse for the customer, who's the brands that pay for all the booths, right? That's how the trade show companies make money. This is a convenient excuse for them to be like, wait, why are we doing this? This doesn't serve our business anymore. So the natural progression away from trade shows is consumer events and conferences. Well, we just happen to be one of the only conferences that has been long-standing. So we're kind of in prime position to pick up. And then people want a smaller, more intimate, but VIP-ish gathering, right? They want to be surrounded by their peers. They don't want 1,000 people there trying to sell them some shit that they don't want.
Right.
And they want to meet with their professional peers at like top, high-end, high-profile brands and media. So that's what it is. It's just kind of a VIP gathering. So that's one of the projects I'm working on. Cool. Another project I'm working on is with the state of Arkansas. This is a super fun one. And we haven't come up with a name for the conference yet, but we're working with, Suzanne Grobmeyer from Parks and Heritage and that department, as well
Catherine
as
Catherine.
Andrews,
In that mix as well.
Mm-hmm, yep, Catherine.
That's a good crew.
Yep, and then we're just had a meeting. So on the planning team, I would say is Scott. Oh shoot, what's Scott's last name from the University of Arkansas? Dr. Scott, I should say, and then Matthew. Gosh dang it, I forgot their last names. But two
those guys,
professors, and Scott is a professor. Matthew is the head of outdoor programming at the University of Arkansas. So that's kind of the planning team, and we're working on a conference. A lot of these states that have outdoor recreation offices have a leadership conference. So we're putting on a leadership conference in the state of Arkansas. So that's kind of a fun project that I'm working on right now.
And the region is going all in. I mean, this is a region in Northwest Arkansas that's known for retail, supply chain, consumer packaged goods, food and beverage. It's unmistakable to say the Walton third generation, Tom and Stuart, said, we need to be best in the world in outdoor recreation ventures. They built out all those trails all across the state and in Northwest Arkansas. They've invited in cyclocross. But they're also going deep on this type of stuff. They want to make that another vertical, if you will, that when people think about this area, they think about this kind of stuff. So it seems like you're well positioned going into all that.
Yeah, I've been in the outdoor industry for 13 years now, and I'm one of the few people who have, kind of seen the growth of outdoor retail, like go from So the center of the industry used to be the show called Outdoor Retailer, and like that's in Bentonville. All right, I won't go into that. Anyway, I've been I've been around in the outdoor industry for some time. I'm pretty young, but I started early, and so in Northwest Arkansas, all of a sudden, there's all this energy around the outdoor industry, and I just woke up one day and I'm like, whoa, I'm like one of the people who actually has experience in this industry. I always thought it was just kind of this like weird sub hippie movement thing that like was not taken seriously as a business. Yeah. And over the years, there's been all these studies that show like, oh, the outdoor recreation economy is actually one of the largest, it's an $800 billion, industry is what they say. So it's pretty cool to be in a spot where I have a lot of experience. I've built a lot of the networks, and now I'm working on these fun projects here in my backyard.
And you see apparel, you see gear, you see technology. It's not, some people, when they think about it, they think, well, that's just a cycling thing. Cycling's a component of it, but it's a whole bunch of other stuff. Rock climbing, bouldering, trail running. There's a whole variety of things that kind of feed into it. Activities, kayaking, all that kind of stuff, and then all the gear and the apparel that goes along with it.
Yeah, I would say there are 38 different corners of the outdoor industry, and all of them call themselves the outdoor industry. But really, hunt and fish, or hunt is different from fish, which is different from fly fish, which is different from boating. The Motorcycle Industry Council. So you kind of look at different industries. At least I do. I look at an industry if they have an industry association. Mm-hmm. So there's these 38 different industry associations. They kind of make a coalition, if you will, under this umbrella organization called Outdoor Recreation Roundtable, ORR. But, like the bike industry, People for Bikes, that's their industry association. What we consider like REI version of outdoor, that'd be Outdoor Industry Association. So anyway, there's 38 of those, and we have, it's cool because in Arkansas, we're leaders in some of these, right? Like we're the brown trout capital of the world, we're, the mountain bike capital of the world. Pretty soon we're going to be one of the paddle capitals of the world. Yeah. We have the Paddle Industry Association that was formed here in Northwest Arkansas. So we have these kind of like different, like leadership in different pockets of these outdoor industries. It's just cool to be here in Arkansas, and experience it and be in the middle of it.
And it's not just, I feel like it's not just Northwest Arkansas now too, because, it has for years been, the mountain biking and now the climbing and stuff in Northwest Arkansas. But you're getting that buy-in from the state now too, from a government perspective, and just a recognition of like, this is where we should be, investing our time and energy. Our governor's husband's kind of leading some of that stuff from that standpoint. And, there's kind of a talk around looking at the Greenhouse Outdoor Recreation Program and what that could look like outside of just Northwest Arkansas. Right. Because in addition, like the duck capital of the world, like so outdoor recreation and that hunting and fishing element is a unique opportunity because there are few resource. I say few. There are not a lot of not a lot of activity and resources in East and Southern Arkansas to really invest in to kind of elevate, the economy. But they have that hunting, fishing, the outdoor stuff. So there's opportunity, from corner to corner. And so it seems like it's like a good opportunity to kind of tap into that. I guess that wasn't a question. I was just soapbox talking.
That sounded like a question I would ask. So, all right, I give back my time after I made my statement. There was really not a question there.
I think the coolest part about it is that, 10 years ago when I first started out in the outdoor industry, people saying, "Where are you from?" And I'd say Arkansas, and they'd be like,
It's just about with anything though too. It's like it's like Arkansas. Oh, okay.
But now it's you go to these events and you're like, where are you from? And I'm like, Arkansas, and they're like, I heard that you guys are doing all these great things, and this and this and this.
The word's getting out.
Yeah, right. And it's not just outdoor. It's there's all sorts of stuff happening. But in my corner, like even when like supply chain and retail and all CPG was all happening. In the outdoor corner, it was kind of like, oh, okay. People know us for Walmart. But one of the coolest things is you go to these events. Before, they'd be like, oh, you mean Walmart? I'm like, yeah. Now they're like, oh, you mean mountain biking or like, duck hunting? And I'm like, yeah. So anyway, that's been pretty fun.
Definitely something I take for granted, having lived here for so long, that it's just in my blood and it's normal for me. But I appreciate always the outsider perspective that is special and it is different. And thanks to people like you who've been in the industry for so long. So again, not a question, just a comment.
Yeah, so I've got a question. And this is, we've got this megalithic outdoor retail empire that's 75 miles from here called Bass Pro, Cabela's, Johnny Morris, and all that goes along with that. And he kind of owns that space. I mean, he is the big player in hunt and fish and outdoor. And yet it doesn't seem like his world and what's happening over here have been mashed together in any kind of meaningful way. What's it going to take, or what should it take to pull him into this? Or is there a reason not to do that?
Man, I remember you bringing that up.
I do all the time because I was like, hey, anybody see those guys over there? It's
Yeah,
It's
right.
kind of like they are retail theater for outdoor. And why aren't we working with them in some fashion?
Man, I think there just needs to be a catalyst, just like someone to make it happen.
We need to get him on a bass boat, a tracker bass boat, and
Bring him on the podcast.
load him up with some beers and just make a deal, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think that's, Caleb's making a note of that.
Honestly, though, like the centers of the world revolve around the big retailers, right? Like, you know, Walmart here, REI, you know, and so I think you're probably one of the few people who've connected the dots of like, hey, these guys are not that far away. They're a couple hours. You should get them on the podcast. And be
Yeah,
like, hey,
we need to do that.
Yeah.
You know, and like other players of the, you know, world monopoly game, he's wearing camo and has binoculars and night vision goggles rather than a monocle. But it's the same kind of thing, right? He's kind of playing the 3-dimensional chess on outdoor retail. It just seems like there would be an opportunity to drag him over here.
Do you think there's like a feeling of like almost zero sumness, like
I don't know.
like
I'd like to
sense of
figure it out.
competition, or-
You know, having not been a billionaire recently, I don't know. But it'd be fun to know.
Yeah.
I mean, why that there's not more collaboration there? Because it's literally
seems to be more to gain from collaboration than
I would
you
think so.
lose.
Well, if you think about kind of the messaging around the heartland, right?
Yeah.
It's not like competition. It's it's like all, you know, all ships, however that.
Well, we'll figure
phrase
that out.
go.
Take that as an action item.
Yeah.
Would you?
Hey, that's actually really insightful. I know you mentioned this before, but
I'm going to keep talking to people about it until somebody does something. Because I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to talk about it. But I think it's a great idea.
Jeff just has
it is a great
ideas.
idea.
We'll get Phil to give him a call. Actually,
If you put that on
I'm sure he's
if
already-
you put that on her action item list for me, I'll do it because she'll wear me out. Until so that's kind of how our dynamic works. Right.
I would say you asked me what projects am I up to. So those are 2 projects. The third thing that I'm doing is outdoor ecom. So outdoor ecom is the agency. It used to be called Blogs for Brands.
So you've rebranded it.
We rebranded it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right before the pandemic. Or maybe it was during the pandemic, actually. So we rebranded to Outdoor Ecom. We were the first digital agency in the outdoor industry before digital agency was a term. We were the first Shopify partner, first Google partner. That's kind of the day-to-day is the agency. And so we work with some of the top outdoor brands. We did like Eno Hammock's website. If you go to spacetrailers.com, our very own Cassie Pearson just project managed that one. It's such an awesome website. You got to look at it. Benji did all the video on it, but like the actual web build was done by Cassie. So that's the day-to-day. We work with like Mountain Smith, Lucky Poles, some of the top brands in the outdoor space.
Within that space in particular, and this is a question we're asking a lot of people these days, how are you thinking about all the new and readily available AI tools? ChatGPT, Jasper, Talley. How are you integrating any of that stuff, or where do you see that kind of stuff going as it relates to outdoor ecom?
You know who you need to talk to about that is a guy named Adam Ruggiero who just moved down here. He's the editor-in-chief of Gear Junkies, good buddy of mine. Okay. I was in his ear for about 6 months trying to convince him to move down, and he finally moved down. He is using, so the way I don't know a lot about like, you know, the nuts and bolts of actually using it. I kind of have like a understanding at a higher level of like, this is theoretically how people could use it. And so my understanding is that the people who really know how to use it will benefit, right? Because it's just, you know, everyone always says like, oh, I wish there was 2 of me. Well, that's not possible, but you can.
It's a force multiplier, right?
Yeah, right.
You can make your content creators more efficient.
And you can make yourself more efficient and more productive. So you could double your productivity. That's actually what you want. You don't want 2 of you, right? You don't want 2 of you taking care of 2 of you and feeding 2 of you and using the bathroom twice as much. But you do want double your productivity. So I think that's what'll happen is it'll help double or triple people who are already productive and know how to use the tools. It'll double and triple their productivity. That's my understanding. I don't know. I'm the wrong dude to ask about AIs.
Caleb's a good example, and not to put you on the spot, Caleb, but you did an article that for AMP,
It was,
and it was called "The Rise of AI" or something to that effect. And the entire article, including the images, were all created on Jasper.
Yep.
And
I prompted that one paragraph at a time too. And editor background and editor.
Didn't you used to be the editor of
Yeah, I did.
Arkansas? That's right. Yeah.
I did. So I've got some of that editor background. But I mean, if you apply it and then, like, recognize that it's not doing the job for you, you're just the editor of that. You can approach it from a different perspective and kind of shepherd it versus like it being, something
did it save
scary.
you time? I mean, if you were to net it all out, could you?
Oh, absolutely.
How much time do you think it saved you on that article? Because that was impressive.
Yeah, I don't. And they're not listening, but it took like 30 minutes, maybe
Wow.
not even 30 minutes.
And that would have taken you probably 3-4 hours, maybe half
Probably
day.
it would be something that I would work on like an hour, for 3-4 days in the evening or whatever, just kind of hacking away at it a little bit at a time. But I just took it, basically came up with, what I thought from a structure perspective.
Yeah.
Like, as an editor, here's an outline of what I think that, touch on this, touch on that, touch on this, and how that flows. And then took it paragraph by paragraph. Now we're talking about this, and then transition. Now we're talking about this, and just rather than say, hey, give me a 1,500 word or 15,000 word, whatever article, I just took it little by little, and that way I could kind of like manipulate that little, what the topic is of this and how you're transitioning. So it makes it read more like someone wrote it versus, if you just said write the whole article yourself, it gives you some kind of generic sounding thing.
You're really using it as an advanced research tool.
Yeah.
Pull out key points, and then you can go through and tie it all together in some kind of
Basically,
cogent
yeah.
way. I mean, that's at running an agency. It'd be interesting to see how you incorporate that over time, because I think all agencies will, because the talent is hard to find. And so let's say if you want to do more with the talent you have, these tools are not going to eliminate jobs. I think we've got lowest participation rate, for those of you that are econ geeks out there, that we've had since the 50s. And the employment rate is still 3.6, 3.7%. So that means there aren't people available to do a lot of this stuff. So now you've got the tools where maybe you don't care, right? You can take that team of 10 and do the work of 20, the content creators. So anyway, it'll be interesting to see how agencies like yours incorporate all that stuff in.
Yeah, I know that our guys are using it. I don't have a particular need to use it.
Sure.
I've used it before, and I've generated paragraphs and whatnot. But the efficient, whenever that's what you do on a day-to-day basis, there's so much productivity gain. But like, I'm not writing paragraphs and paragraphs of copy or generating images, so I don't use it a ton. But my guys have already started using it.
That's cool.
It's like sort of kind of built into their. But going back to Adam, he uses it pretty free. Like, he's like,
in what he's doing in Gear Junkie.
For my understanding is, like, I don't know if he's using it on a day-to-day basis, but he knows how to use it pretty well. And he's like, the comments that I've gotten from him is like, it's not quite there. It's not quite to where like it, it's this like game-changing, totally revolutionary thing. It's close, but I still have to go in and pretty much massage just about everything that comes out.
Sure.
You're still the editor.
Yeah, you still got to edit. It's not gonna do it all for you.
Yeah. So, but that's
What comes next? I know you're a serial kind of guy. What comes next?
after AI.
No. I mean, for Yoon Incorporated, the empire you're building there. So what's the Amore eel going to catch next?
Well, right now the moray eel is kind of chomping on this last project. It's maybe a bit more than he could chew. It's like he tried to bite into a seal or something, and it's like the seal is squirming away.
You got a hold of the great white. Huh?
I don't know if I can hold on to this one. The opportunity that we're talking about is pretty significant,
gigantic, right?
which is, the trade shows are being disrupted. There's a kind of, some of these other pockets, and we're all kind of like, it's a land grab of like, getting to who. It's basically like who can get to 300 brands, right? That's what I call critical mass. If you get to 300 brands, you're kind of the next gathering place. We have a very unique value prop, which is like we arm people with, like, we forecast the future of where the economy is headed, and like during our keynotes and that sort of thing. And then it's such a small group, right? And we don't let a ton of people in. So it's it's a very daunting task. Hopefully, we're able to capitalize on it. But next after that, I would say I want to take one from the playbook of Davis Smith, who is the CEO of Cotopaxi. He just retired and he's moving to Brazil and he's going to like be a missionary in Brazil. And he's like, I'm done with Cotopaxi
He's
now.
going to be a social entrepreneur now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I could see something like that at some point. That's the goal, right? The goal is to do like what you're doing, which you got to a point where you made all the money or you've
not quite all the money in the world. Not quite.
You've achieved a level of success, and now you're just like, I want to give back freely. And in my time, you taught at the university for a while.
Yeah, still do.
And then you're like, I just want to give back freely, and I don't want to have to stress over anything else. But
nice.
And I want to be in that position at some point.
Own your time.
Yeah.
Own your time, so to speak. You've been a little bit of a social do-gooder at different times. I think you told me a story once upon a time that you spent some time in China helping North Korean refugees.
Man, you don't forget anything.
I don't forget anything. Tell us a little bit about that story. I mean, I think that's pretty compelling, right? What was going on with all of that?
So 2 summers I spent. I'm sure no one's going to hear this that cares. Hopefully not. Maybe the FBI will knock on my door one day. So 2 summers I spent, moving refugees from North Korea, not from North Korea, but they're in North Korean refugees in China. Which there's a lot of, anyway, moving refugees from China into third-party countries, like,
trying to get them out, right?
Trying to get them out and then moving them. So, it sounds a lot cooler than it really is. Like I was basically just teaching English, but part of this bigger.
But still, getting them
operation.
ready to get to a different place, and a question, because I think that's really interesting, is how much do they have to be deprogrammed? Because for 70 years they've been fed this stuff which makes no sense and kept under the thumb of essentially one ruling family. Were most of them aware of what the outside world was going to be like, or was it like they were scared that? There was a lot of uncertainty. Talk about that a little bit.
I've heard that it's different now. So we were in Korea hanging out, and I did check in on that scene. Like I went into the old church that I used to go to, and then like kind of caught up on, and it's changed a lot. A lot of it is just locked down. It's
the Chinese are probably not excited about that either. Are they?
During COVID, they just kind of like, this is my understanding, and they're just like, well, we don't really care anymore. So also Northeast China is all, it used to be Korea. So everyone there's Korean. So it's very hard to tell, like, are you originally from North Korea? So there's all this kind of confusion, but I know that what I've heard is a lot of the people that are coming into South Korea now are like orphans. And my understanding is, like people in China and North Korea are like, you can take our orphans, like, that's okay. So they're kind of okay with it. And then when they get to Korea, it's a different mentality. It used to be a lot of very like kind of ambitious younger people who are like, I want to make a living and have a better life. Now it's just kind of these orphans that are moved around and they end up in Korea. So they're like not as ambitious. They don't really want to learn, English. They don't really want to go to college. I don't know. I'm no longer, I think at one point I was able to speak relatively knowledgeably about that kind of thing, but I'm not really, I've been out of the loop for so long.
Yeah, but I tell you what, it takes a lot of guts to go do something like that when you've got hostile powers that are not excited about you doing it. So good on you.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I don't know, fun time of my life. One day I hope to be able to do it again.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah.
So speaking of our time in Korea, these are just anecdotes, not even anything in particular to Outdoor Media Summit or anything like that. But like we talked about the other day, we stayed up to the World Cup was going on while we were in Seoul, and so we had the opportunity to stay up until 4:00 in the morning. I think it was.
I only remember half of that night.
We just kind
first half.
Just kind of hammered through.
That's a typical Wednesday.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
We just kind of hammered through that evening. I remember bouncing around at one place. They served us. I think you ordered it, like steamed eggs and sliced peaches So we had to have something at the table in
Yeah.
order to like keep drinking. It's like, here's a bowl of steamed eggs and here's a bowl of sliced peaches, just trying to like hammer our way through the evening to get to 4 a.m.
Yeah, when the game started.
Yeah, just to get to 4 a.m. just to do it all over again in like a crowded underground, like packed space, like 4 a.m. on a weeknight, and it's still wall to wall. That's just like one of those moments that are like, that's awesome. Like
Soul and bodies work hard, play hard, and they work harder than just about anybody, and they play harder than anybody that I've seen anywhere. It's just amazing. I couldn't keep up. I could not keep up. I love that place. It's a lot of fun.
That's why I stopped drinking. Literally why.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah. Almost thought we should have had this podcast recording over some like fried chicken and deep fried chilies and stuff like that.
Shoot.
Some really good Korean barbecue.
That
Some
would have been a game
bulgogi.
changer. Yeah, no kidding.
I'm convinced that bibimbap was created as the drunk repair food.
Yeah.
Now, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm confident that's what it is.
So as you kind of, identify this, like, this opportunity that's, to what you said, just kind of, it's big, it's daunting. And what keeps you up at night when you think about that? But double-sided question, what excites you most about it?
Man, I'll say what kept me up last night was being nervous about being on the podcast today.
That can't be true.
No, I do have like restless nights. I will say that, okay, I know this isn't what you're asking. You're not asking for the physiological reasons why I'd have sleepless nights.
Heartburn.
Yeah, but I will say that I have this dream a lot where I am missing a flight. Specifically, I'm in Korea and I'm like 3 hours late for my flight. It doesn't even make any sense, right? Dreams don't make sense. Like the flight is like, but I'm still trying to make it to the airport. I think that what that's supposed to mean is like I'm afraid that I'm going to miss this big opportunity in life. I've never raised capital. I'm working. I will say that there are some amazing supporters that have like supported, this journey. I will say that, okay, so specifically I'm talking about Outdoor Media Summit. And so Outdoor Media Summit is a for media by media event, right? So we have a steering committee of top brands and top media, and they're really building this party for themselves. It's not necessarily just my party. It's like I'm asking everyone like, hey, what do you want to see in your own party? And the cooler the party is, the more fun it is for them and for everyone else, right? I'm just the one that like goes and buys the beer and, gets the drinks and stuff. But where was I going with this? So this, missing the opportunity. Anyway, that's what keeps me up.
You worried you're missing out? Have you got a little bit of FOMO going on there? Are you worried you're missing out on something?
It's more of like, when I started Blogs for Brands and I've never raised capital and like,
good on you.
Yeah, right. And this is
probably
advice.
lived a happier life.
And honestly, I think
These
I have.
VC guys are all a bunch of, I won't say it, fill in the blanks. Aside from us, but all the other VCs.
No, but I mean, like I was, you were like mentoring me, and this is before Startup Junkie was huge.
Yeah.
This is, before you were.
It was
a big
just
deal.
the three of us, me, myself, and I.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was, Brett wasn't even in the team at the time.
No, that's right. We've known each other a long time.
And Startup Junkie wasn't even a name at that point. You were at the university and you were like meeting me in your office at the university and like kind of coaching me and mentoring me through this stuff. And you kept on asking like, hey, do you really want to give up equity? Like you got a cool thing going. And it would always bring me back to, and then you'd be like, well, do you want to scale? And you'd always kind of coach me through these questions. And so I feel like it's like a replay of that now is I got to move fast. And I have these, that's where I was going. I have the, so Outdoor Media Summit is this amazing team of supporters, and they're supporting their own party and they're building their own party. And some of them have been supporting for many years, like over and over again. And some of them are like, some of these parties have not been that great, but they keep supporting anyway because they believe in a long-term vision. So that's what keeps me up at night is, I've got this opportunity and like, this one it's pretty big. To me, it's like life-changing opportunities like this happen, 3 times in your life. If you can capitalize on one, you end up happy and you don't have a mortgage and you have a good family life and, like whatever. If you capitalize on 2 of them, then you become like super famous in your field, and maybe you invent something and, you're like, a well-known name in your field. You capitalize on all three, then you end up like LeBron James, or, like Michael Jordan or something, right? And you become like, and so I feel like this is my second opportunity that's passed in my life, and I don't want to screw it up. But at the same time, that's like how people screw things up, is they keep telling themselves, I don't want to screw it up. So that's what keeps me up is, anyway.
What do you think you need to capitalize on that? What would bridge the gap for that? What's the piece that would make you feel like, okay, I can, I'm not going to stay up all night thinking about this?
Well, tactically, what I need is a partner in crime and I have one partner in crime, Lucy Haynes. She's freaking amazing at, kind of being like the person that, so she's running the content and working with speakers and like building the breakout sessions and and taking that piece. But I need another partner in crime that can help me like build the sales piece. Someone that's a little bit more, like they've been around the block, they've earned their stripes, they're looking for a fun project, that sort of thing, versus like, a young person that, because we're all a bunch of young people going to like these big brands, like telling them like, hey, you need to come to this amazing party. And sometimes they see the vision. Sometimes they want to see someone, with a couple gray hairs and who's been around the block. And so that's tactically that I think that would help me get to, the next level. But I think, like a step back from that is, when you throw a party, and you want to have a really, I think you just got to ask like, hey, what do you want to see in this party? You ask your people like, what do you want to see? And then you're the one that's kind of doing the work. So I don't know if that answered the question, but that's kind of what's on my mind these days.
So if you could put yourself in a time machine, take all this accumulated wisdom that you have now and go back, say 15 years, what would you tell your younger self?
Buy Apple. I don't think I have any regrets. I think life went the way that it was supposed to. I don't think I would change much. Like I have, 3 small but relatively productive / profitable businesses. I'm respected in my field. I've got a wife that loves me, and we have a good home, and I've got good friends. I don't think I would change too much because I'm like, well, if I change too much, then maybe I wouldn't have one of those things. And I'm not trying to like make all the money in the world. I think I'm just trying to build businesses that provide value to the customers, and they respect you for it, and they need it. And then
let me rephrase the question. If you went back, you're the older, more accomplished Yoon to the younger, starting out Yoon. Would the younger Yoon have listened to the older Yoon? Aside from being really freaked out that somehow you came back.
It wouldn't even matter. Like I would go tell the younger Yoon, hey, you need to do this. And he'd be like, you don't know what you're talking about. And he'd do it.
That's exactly how I would have been. The reason why I rephrased it is if the 60-year-old Jeff had gone back and talked to the 32-year-old Jeff, it probably would have been F you. You got a white beard. You don't know anything. Go away. Truthfully, I probably would have been like that in those days.
Yeah. So, but somehow
pretty confident.
Yeah. And somehow we are where we are, right? Yeah. We're doing what we love. Like I think you actually have a shot at like being a Jeff Bezos or something like that. But I'll never be a Jeff Bezos, but I don't need to. I mean, I've got kind of my own thing going and I'm happy with it. And
I don't want to be Jeff Bezos.
I don't think you do either.
I don't want to be bald and I don't want to be divorced and I don't want to give up half of everything I ever earned.
Right.
So he can have his life. I'm happy with mine. So
yeah. But anyway.
Where can our listeners find out more about everything that you're doing? What's the best way for them to find out about all your businesses or about you?
I'm not very active on social media. So probably if you're interested in Outdoor Media Summit, you could follow the social handles on Outdoor Media Summit. If you're interested in outdoor ecom, you could, subscribe to the stuff on Outdoor Ecom. And then for the Arkansas project, we're building like a pretty big invite list, and we'll start sending out emails.
That's coming. So
That's
if you're in
coming,
that
yeah.
space, there's going to be some outreach on it.
Yeah,
Very
there'll be a bunch of outreach, but I mean, you could just email me personally to Yoon at Outdoor Media Summit or Yoon at Outdoor ECOM.
And I have to tell you, I was just sitting here reflecting as we were talking. You were one of the really early kind of regulars in the ecosystem, the entrepreneurial ecosystem. And actually, Sanjeev Singh, who's now running ZenWork, was very early in some of those things as well, before there really was a startup junkie. It's been a lot of fun to watch all the things that you've achieved in your journey. So good on you. Keep doing what you do. Glad to know you.
Well, I'll have to say that, I always keep a note of the most meaningful mentors in my life, and you're in that list. And I'm glad to have met you early on in the day. It's just super interesting. Like, none of my businesses are that big or that, like, I mean, I think they're cool, but I think most people look at it and be like, this is like small potatoes. It's, you got like a couple rentals.
It all depends on how you define winning, right?
Yeah, right, right.
If it makes you happy,
yeah,
then good.
Yeah.
Some of the most obnoxious, angry, unhappy people I've ever met are the ones that had really high net worth. So that's not how you define wealth.
Yeah, and I just remember early on in the day, that's the stuff that you coached me through was like, hey, look, figure out the lifestyle you want.
Exactly.
And then your path will look different based on the lifestyle. Do you want to be like reporting to people?
I'll give you something that Jerry Sereboff, my father-in-law, infamous father-in-law, said when we had conversations about this many years ago. He said, Jeff, nobody ever wins a prize for being the richest asshole in the cemetery. Think about that. There's a lot more important things in life, and I think you're doing it well. So thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it. Yeah.
It's been fun.
Ecosystem builders, entrepreneurs, chambers of commerce, mayors. If you're interested in taking your economic future into your own hands, we've got a book that can help you. Creating Startup Junkies, Building Sustainable Venture Ecosystems in Unexpected Places is the guide. It's a little bit inspiration. It's a little bit toolkit. What it will allow you to do is take your economic future into your own hands and build a sustainable small business, innovation, and entrepreneurial ecosystem in your backyard. If you'd like to hear more, check out creatingstartupjunkies.com. The Startup Junkie podcast reaches over 100 countries and has had over 100,000 downloads. If you're interested in reaching some of the most motivated and engaged innovators and entrepreneurs on a worldwide basis, give us a shout.